Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. This is Kenya Revolutionary. It is morning wherever I am. A really cold morning, I might add, as we get to spring. But, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad you are joining me today in this other session. As you can see, the topic is Okiya Omtata is targeted again by the powers that be that don't like whatever he's doing. And then we shall review, see Nakhumicha's woes. She's under, pressure right now, whether it's the group by Babu Owino that are going after her neck, her position, or, and then we shall also review Professor Ogolla's take on the politics that's going on in Kenya. He had some interesting views regarding Babu Owino's, Babu Owino and his group, you know, which includes Peter Keter and Wamuchomba and the gang that are going after Nakhumicha. Also, he touched on how the ODM and how the ODM is dysfunctional and the possibility of him starting a new party that they might go for the big seat. He didn't really allude much to that, but nevertheless, he made his point across. Okay. So, before I start, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, and comrades, you know the first order of business if you're watching this from wherever you are, whether it's on X, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's whatever. Okay. Please, you know the first order of business. Like the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. You know what's up. You know the deal. You know the drill. Okay. Endelea. I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay. I also have the StreamYard link just in case someone wants to join. You're more than welcome to do so. All right. So wait a minute. I want to put it for the people in X too, on X who are watching me on X. Sorry. Let me do this. Yes, the people who want to join me on X who are watching through X, don't hesitate. Let me put the thing, the link on there too. You'll see it on the comment, the first comment. Okay, whether if you want to be part of this discussion, I'll put it there. So nipatie dakika moja. Let me just put it here in my social. Okay, so join the studio by clicking the link. Okay, so if you're on X and you're watching this on Twitter or X and you want to be part of the discussion, do your link. Just join the studio. You know the deal. Open your server, open your camera, now Apple, and you can contribute. Anyway, let's get to it. So apparently Okiya Omtata was attacked this, was it last night by some people that we might not know. We don't have evidence of who sent them or who these people were. But to me, this whole attacks, remember I told you when Okiya Omtata had that accident somewhere in Kisumu, I mentioned that these people, the powers that be, want Okiya Omtata dead because he's one brave man who dares to stop this puppet government. Okay. Now, when I talk about puppet government, I'm just not referring to Ruto himself and his cabinet and his administration. Yes, he is the head of the executive and he has massive influence throughout every other arm of government. I'm talking about Ruto and the opposition too. We do not have an opposition. The government is being run by Ruto and he has been joined. He's now a conjoined twin brother of Raila Odinga and the Azimio folks. don't be fooled by all these statements that you hear from Sifuna, and everybody else. These guys are working together. I've been always singing that song since time immemorial. I've stressed this narrative ad nauseum. Okay. I've hit that horse to a point where it's more than dead. I don't know what else to tell you. These guys are working together. And Okiya Omtata is one true patriot who is a thorn to the political class because he's holding them accountable. Everything that they try to do that is unconstitutional, he challenges them. And it is hard for judges to rule against him because they know he's right. He cites the Constitution. He reminds them that, hey, listen, this affordable housing is illegal, unconstitutional. So if they can't beat him in court using the judiciary, which is the arm of government that is to interpret the Constitution, what else can they do to stop Okiya Omtata? They can do what? Their next method is to try to intimidate him. And if intimidation does not work, then they'll use the deadly means, which will be get rid of him. And I'm talking about either killing him, murdering him. Okay? Because these incidences, remember, it was just a few weeks ago when Okiya Omtata reported that he was attacked once when he was leaving the courts after filing a petition. He was followed by a bunch of goonies who tried to rough him up. Actually, they did, I think. And before that, remember I told you the accident that he got involved in with a tanker somewhere in Kisumu was not just a mere accident. This, in my view, was an assassination attempt. It is the oldest trick in the book that has always been used by the ruling class, the political class of Kenya. They wanted to get rid of Kibaki too. Remember Kibaki when he was going to win? It was apparent that he was going to be the next president. He got involved in an accident. Raila Odinga back in the 90s, when he was really a huge thorn to Moi, he survived an accident, okay? So it's always an accident. How did Saitoti die? Through a helicopter accident. Accidents are used to get rid of the people who challenge the system. So now you see Okiya Omtata is being intimidated. Wanatuma watu wakamtafute wamfanye vitu so he can stop this whole history yake ya kuweka petitions challenging the unconstitutionality of this affordable housing and so forth, so forth. Okay, so we should pay more attention to this guy. I told you, this man is the only true, real opposition to this political class. Hawa watu wengine wote, hawa kina Sifuna, sijui nani, anyone with the tag of ODM is a joker. They are doing so for their own political mileage. Wanataka kujitengenezea jina. They don't walk the walk, they just talk. Yes, you see Babu Owino with his Peter Keterina, sijui nani are trying to do something. Yes, now they're trying to do something. Yes, we encourage that. But if you look at somebody who has been consistently standing up for the Kenyan Mwananchi and is challenging the gross misconduct by this political class, whether it was Uhuru Kenyatta, whether it was Kibaki, Moi, and now Ruto, Okiya Omtata has stood up and has always been with the people. Hautamwona maandamano. He does his maandamano at the courts. Okay? Because he knows. Maybe hana watu wa kutosha kuita maandamano. Maybe he understands that maandamano always results to unnecessary loss of life. So he uses a better way, the better channels, which is the courts, challenging them on the merits or the demerits, okay, of the issue brought at hand. Kuita maandamano, mtaenda huko, watu watakufa, whatever, then what? So compare the two, and I've talked about that. I've made a video about that. Raila Odinga uses maandamano because, yes, it has influence. But look at the results of maandamano. People are dying. People died. Did those people get paid? Did they get reimbursed? Their family members, did they were given pesa ya kulipa maiti, mazishi? Yeah? Then look at the NADCO. Not only is it unconstitutional, but the very issue that took you to the streets has not been addressed. And Raila is not being held accountable. He was out there. You saw him with Sifuna yesterday giggling, talking about nitakuja kukula mbuzi kwa nyumba yako. And he's heading to AU. And nobody's asking him, hey, what happened to the cost of living? Hello? What happened to the cost of living? No one is asking that question. Jamaa anaenda AU and he's now friends with Ruto. Wewe mwili yako iko huko kwa ninio, kwa mochari, uliuliwa kwa sababu ulienda maandamano kupigania nini? Raila Odinga. See what I'm saying? But Okiya Omtata is just using his brain, anaangalia constitution, anaona hii imekuwa, it has been violated, and he takes it to court and he wins his cases. And people are starting to acknowledge and appreciate his brave, non-violent method of fighting for the wananchi. So Okiya Omtata should be protected by all means. Him and his family. We as patriots, wananchi, should come out and protect Okiya Omtata. He's the last hope, not Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has proven time after time again to be a political conman. Ndio maana anaenda AU. And guess who's helping him go to AU? Ruto. Let's get to Professor Ogolla. I want to mention something that he said today, today, I think. And it had to do with his take on what Babu Owino and Babu Owino's group are doing. Remember, I mentioned about Babu Owino yesterday. I gave him props for them gathering around and walikuja na ile, what do you call it? This whole idea of putting a motion to impeach Nakhumicha. And Nakhumicha is a content by herself. Nakhumicha, poor Nakhumicha. Yeah, she's about to, she's under fire. Now, if you live in a rock, you know that Nakhumicha is what? PS of health or something like that. Basically, this whole doctors striking saga for lack of pay falls on her docket. And Nakhumicha hasn't been endearing herself in glory by approaching this issue by threatening the doctors. Tell them, hey, listen, musienda hapo kazini, I don't know, you'll be fired or whatever the case is. She's just not approaching this issue with grace. So Babu Owino and his team, they are being labeled as the young Turks, okay? Wamesema, you know what? Let's go ahead and impeach this lady. Let's start the process of impeaching her because she is grossly incompetent, as they put it. I would like to play you a clip of that so you get an understanding. Unless, you've already had it, okay? Now, Babu Owino, okay, let's look at that video so we can start with it. Alafu tutaendelea mbele. Sawa? Okay, let me start with that. I will play this in I think it was hold on. All right. So I'll play you about that Nini about Babu Owino, then we shall take it from there. Mko ready? Tafadhali, don't hesitate. Like the video. That's the first order of business. You know that. Every time this video comes on, like it, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and share. Comment if you want, and you can join the studio. The link is up there for the people. The X, go to the comment section on the X. When you comment, the first comment is the link for StreamYard. If you want to get in, by all means, you can get in. Let's play this by Babu Owino so we can read what they were talking about regarding Nakhumicha. Or here, sorry. All right. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. By the way, that's a wonderful song. The only tune, this tune is the only that I know is usually it's Manchester United fans who sing this song. Glory, glory, Man United. Glory, glory, Man United. But anyway, they're singing about solidarity. That's another story for another day. Manchester United, by the way, later on they're playing Chelsea. I'm a Chelsea fan, so that's why I'm doing this live early, so later on we can play Manchester United and beat them. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to Babu Owino. Let's go. The union makes us strong.
When you look at Parliament, as at now, all members of Parliament, it is their constituents who are affected. It is their constituents who are sick and tired of what is happening. It is their constituents who are in various hospitals. And therefore, as we speak now, we already have around 111 members of Parliament who've texted me and assured me that they are going to sign the impeachment motion and they are going to support it on the floor of the House. And this will be the greatest impeachment ever. Why? Because of the arrogance, the ignorance of the Cabinet Secretary for Health. And you know, when you're a Cabinet Secretary for Health, you must be very careful because you have to look at your credentials first vis-a-vis the people you are heading. If you did diploma online and you are coming to dictate or demand on what should not be demanded from the doctors, these are people who sat in class for 6 academic years. And having been a president of the University of Nairobi, I know what the doctors were going through. These are people whose parents toiled and moiled. They also toiled and moiled just to be where they are. And then when it comes to the payment, how can a cabinet secretary earn more than a doctor? And a cabinet secretary who does not qualify for that matter. And therefore, she will be impeached. We want this defunct government to move with speed. The president should not leave the country when there's a serious crisis, when people are dying. The health ministry is unhealthy. The health ministry is sick. The country is sick. And therefore, as a result of that, we have come up with an impeachment motion. We are going back on Tuesday to Parliament. And this is the letter that we've sent to the clerk of the National Assembly so far on an impeachment motion that we want to impeach the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Nakhumicha, and we want her to continue staying at the funerals where she's enjoying staying instead of meeting the doctors and doing her job. So the letter reads, notice of motion, the removal of the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Health, Susan Nakhumicha. Pursuant to Article 152.6 of the Constitution, as read with Standing Order 66, I wish to notify you of the intention to move a special motion for removal of the Cabinet Secretary for Health from office on 2 grounds, namely, number 1, gross violation of Articles 26.1 and 43.1a of the Constitution, which provides for the right to the highest attainable standard of health respectively, and 2, incompetence. The Cabinet Secretary, the above grounds are based on the following particulars. The Cabinet Secretary has failed to appreciate the seriousness of the strike and has failed to provide a lasting solution to settle the demands of the medics, including hiring of trainee doctors and payment of salary arrears. Number 2, the CS failed to avert the doctor strike, which has now entered its 3rd week. Those are 21 days. The CS has instead taken a hard line and is instead threatening the striking doctors with immediate sacking and replacement. And therefore, we shall disappoint her and we want the president to appoint somebody else. Number 3, as a result of the doctor strike, scores of Kenyans have been unable to access medical care, and in dire cases, some Kenyans have lost their lives. I will be moving this motion and seek the resolution of the House to require His Excellency the President to dismiss the Cabinet Secretary from office. We have attached the necessary evidence in support of the allegations.
Hivi wengi wanaopoteza maisha ni kina mama na watoto. Wakenya wanahangaika sana sana na hili swala la afya. Na mimi nataka niulize serikali hii ya Kenya iliyoko sasa. Jamani, hii afya tunaiweka katika kitengo gani? Kwa sababu nimeona afya ni kama sio priority. Na iwapo mtu hana afya, hata security huwezi fanya. Na ikiwa huna afya, wawe wanaendelea na mgomo kwa sababu Wakenya wanakufa. Kina mama wanashindwa kuzaa. Kina mama wanataka kufanyia operation ya kuzaa, hawawezi. Watoto wanakufia tumboni, kina mama wanakufa. Tuna kilio kama taifa. Please and please and please, let us make health as a priority number 1. Even in our budgeting, let us make it as priority number 1. Thank you.
I appreciate these doctors for agreeing to go back to work on certain conditions. And those conditions, when you listen to them, they are not things which are very difficult to be achieved by a country which seems to be making a lot of money, including paying a lot of bills of the Eurobond. Those irreducible minimums are things that when you hear them, I think that will be able to ensure that there is sanity. Hospitals are closed. We are losing mothers, we are losing children. And these doctors are only saying, pay us our 12,000 shillings, which the court had agreed that will be increased to be paid to us. They are also saying, pay the interns money. Now imagine an intern is being paid 20,000 shillings, and that intern is the one who is supposed to take care of you. So we are here, we are happy to have met with them. There are serious challenges, and these challenges, people seems not to be realizing them. Health is devolved. When you go to Machakos County, the hospitals are closed. When you go to Nairobi County, the hospitals are closed. If you go to Narok County, the hospitals are closed, or even if they are open, there are no doctors. These doctors are also saying that we are overworked. You've not employed any doctor since 5 years ago. The last doctors who are employed, if you count from the inception of the devolution, they're only less than 1,000. Yet the country is increasing. So these are the issues that these doctors are saying this government is not listening to. So we've had a meeting with them, and we have agreed that they are ready to go to work only when certain irreducible minimums are met. Number 1, again, is pay their 12,000 shillings, which was said. Number 2, don't belittle the work which is done by the interns by paying them less than 30,000 shillings, even less than a security officer, you know. Number 3, they are saying that they are overworked. They cannot continue working, you know, many hours. Hospitals have, you will go to Mombasa, you'll find that they only has 1 neurosurgeon. How do you expect people of Mombasa to get their services? We are also happy that they realize that people are suffering. So to be able to end this struggle that we have at the moment, which we support them entirely, the government must now listen to them. The government must respect court orders to be able to ensure that we remain in a country that respects the rule of law.
Do you want an easy way to create?
Okay, so that's a wonderful a quick synopsis of the problem, the attempt by these members of parliament, an attempt for them to deal with this issue, the impasse that's there between the doctors and Nakhumicha, the CS for health care, whatever the case is, okay? And yes, these young folks, these members of parliament have come together to see that the CS, Nakhumicha, is held accountable for, you know, not, of course, her pronouncements when I started by saying that she was not winning any body by her pronouncement saying that, you know, the doctors should go back, they'll be reprimanded if they don't, or whatever, okay? So the solution these people came up with is to make sure that you heard Babu Owino say they want to impeach her, and after they impeach her, they want Ruto to appoint somebody else. Now, some people are asking, is that really the solution? A curious response. I'll start with one lady that you remember Wajakoya's running mate. I forgot her name. Let me just get her name so I don't misquote her. Justina Wamae. Let's read together at her response. Then I'll get to Professor Ogolla, who also mentioned something about this. Okay? So let's get to that. Let me read you that. Then tell me, I'll give my view after that too. All right. So Justina Omae, if I could just bring you another screen here. Can you see it, guys? All right, there it is. If you can see it, please let me know. All right. Justina Omae, the former, she was running with Wajakoya for presidents under the MITI political party, okay? This is what she said. Wakenya, even if munachukia mtu, you just need to get your facts right, okay? This is what she started with. Then she went on and said, CS Nakhumicha may have done all that she's accused of, but the bottom line is that KMPDU is demanding the hiring of interns and payment of salary arrears, which is in the range of 4 billion shillings. Surely, hiyo pesa anafaa atoe kwa mfuko yake ama. Basically, she's asking, KMPDU is demanding that they get paid 4 billion shillings, okay, in their arrears, hiyo salary hawajalipwa. And she's saying, for that amount, 4 billion, surely hiyo pesa anafaa atoe kwa mfuko yake ama. She's asking, is she expected to pay that 40 billion out of her pocket? Basically posing that question. Then she goes on and says, the truth of the matter is that, I think she meant to write Article 95 4B, the National Assembly appropriates funds for expenditure by the national government and other national state organs, okay? Why can't the National Assembly appropriate this money instead of an impeachment motion? Anyway, since Rais has the majority of the National Assembly, which is an extension of the State House, if he wanted to end the doctors' strike, he would have whipped his troops to cause an appropriation bill towards this particular health financing stalemate. But since KK Kenya Kwanza inataka kufukuza CS Nakhumicha, wanamwachilia araruliwe na Azimio. Kwa kweli, akufukuzae hakuambii toka. Okay. So, Justine Wamae, in response to the Babu Owino impeachment motion, she's basically saying that, you know what, the impeachment motion is not exactly the best option to deal with this issue. She's saying that the state, through the parliament, National Assembly, okay, should have factored in this 4 billion that's needed in the expenditure part of the appropriation bill, in the budget, basically. Appropriation bill is basically budget, okay? So she's saying that this money should have been factored in the budget. And for that amount, you don't expect Nakhumicha to come up with that 4 billion. I mean, is she expected to take it out from her own pocket? And the answer is a resounding no, she cannot. She probably doesn't have it. She told you during her whatever that she was worth 101 million. And of course, it's not up to her to pay her personal money to give it to the doctors. It is the state that's supposed to be paying these doctors. So she is saying that the National Assembly should, find money, come up with a vote motion to ask the Treasury to give these 4 billion shillings to pay these doctors. That's basically what she's saying. And that the problem does not stop with Nakhumicha. That's one. That's Nakhumicha. That's Justina Wamai's take on, in response to Babu Owino's and his friends, going after Nakhumicha. Now, the question is this: do you think it is a matter of Nakhumicha being incompetent, or does she have her hands tied? Because obviously she cannot order the government to pay 4 billion because it's not up to her, it's up to National Assembly. As you had Justina saying that, the National Assembly should, since the National Assembly is basically comprised of mostly Kenya Kwanza members of parliament, and of course the Azimio folks, they should, ask the Treasury to release some money, 4 billion, to pay these doctors. So the problem does not really, the back doesn't stop with Nakhumicha. That's basically what she said. Now, an interesting take, but let's listen to Professor Ogolla, who also had something to say about this issue. Let's get to it. Now, here it is. All right. Are you guys ready? Sawa, twende.
They're going to try to impeach ministers began during Kenyatta.
Hold on. Sorry about that, guys.
Babu Owino, I told you, being young is not age, but is your software updated? Because they're going to try to impeach ministers began during Kenyatta. Whenever you didn't like government, you want to impeach. It was done before I was born, even before Babu was born. To use it at this age and say young Kenya parliamentarians are coming up with a Stone Age strategy to deal with government is very unfortunate. Young is not about age also. But I like the Jubilee thing that I talk about, so that's very unfortunate. I would like them to use something more interesting. Our problem must be diagnosed. Fred, using a medical model, if you have gotten the wrong analysis or diagnosis, there is no need of a prescription. So has this people diagnosed the problem? The problem we have in Kenya is, like my senior says, is one William Ruto. Because immediately he was sworn in, he gave us a fake cabinet. With the fake cabinet, he gave us a fake economic model. He gave us a fake fiscal policy. It is hitting everybody. The problem is those doctors are actually feeling very much agitated even more because in spite of the fact they're not being paid very well, their pay slip has also been raided. Mm-hmm. So even what they had has been taken away, it has chipped away. Everyone is saying, like a CEO of a bank told me, Professor, since this guy became president, all the levies deducted, I've lost 112,000 shillings for my pay slip. So if you used to this one for maybe taking children's school, you have to look for another money. Then alternative incomes in Kenya has dropped to 58%. Yes. The president is not thinking about anybody else, thinking about himself. So according to me, we should forget what is called perfect person assumption, whereby we believe that if you take Fred to a rotten system, he will be dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. I was a professor in Strathmore. I would struggle to teach another university which does not have the same system. Mm-hmm. If you take Ronaldo to go and play for Mathare United, isn't it? Do you think the same support Ronaldo has when he's playing for the team he's playing will be effective? We must look at the structure, the systems, functions, and avoid assassination. Because if you go after Nakhumicha, the lawyers think you are going after their own. But if we go after the system, it is that I agree with you, Senior. By Wednesday next week, our bill is ready to recall the president directly and recall members of parliament, not by one, but also directly, so that people can know who has the sovereign power. We are going to put the Constitution at the heart of that and worship the Constitution. That's showing our allegiance to it. So I can tell you that the fakeness began from the day one. The day one, immediately the speech began by saying, we inherited a dilapidated economy. How can the economy that has sworn you into office with a budget of over 200 million shillings be dilapidated? You know, it began from that day, and from now on, We lost international thing. I'm also very happy to report saying I was very happy when I read the best headline I've read this year is the one which was on the Business Daily yesterday. When Americans said that corruption in government is stopping Americans from doing business with the government. And I want to tell every Kenyan listening to me, do not listen to your politician telling you the problems come from the US. Obama said it in US Nairobi. Every nation has a national interest. So don't blame America here. Don't blame the UK. Let us align our national interest with that of the other members and
Final
partners.
comments, 30 seconds.
And let us go. So Kenyans, what we lack here is leadership. Leadership is about followership. But the fact that you are being followed by 53 million Kenyans, Mr. President, you have to know where you're taking them. The anger we are seeing in rallies means that you are seeing 50 million Kenyans following you, and you have no idea where you're taking them. Then you stand back and shout at them. And that's why we must recall you, not in 2027, now.
Okay.
Well, for me, as Prof says, and I always like...
Wow. Listen, time out. So we have two completely, not necessarily diametrically opposed views when you're talking about Justina Wamai and Professor Ogolla. But I think they are attempting to tackle the problem from its root. Okay? Now, you see, there's levels of how you're to deal with this thing. Babu Owino and his cohorts, the young Turks who are having that press conference, whether it's Ledama and the lady there, and Babu Owino and Peter Keter and so forth, they are pointing their gun, the proverbial gun, at the CS, Nakhumicha, saying, hey, listen, you are the head of this ministry. It seems that you are incompetent and the gross misconduct and you're whatever, so we want to impeach you. Okay? Justina Wamai says, listen, you might not like what Nakhumicha said, but the buck does not stop with Nakhumicha. She's merely a CS. She cannot pay these 4 billion Kenyan shillings to these doctors that they are owed, okay? So the problem lies in the government. Look at the National Assembly, who are supposed to actually allocate some money that goes to these doctors. So they should have factored this in the appropriation bill. Okay, so the problem lies with the state. And Professor Ogolla goes further and say, listen, stop wasting your time. These are methods that have been used since time immemorial. History ya kutoa watu sijui impeaching people, it has been used before. It does not work. The problem is the system as a whole. We should overhaul, revolutionize the system. Okay? So the buck stops with the president. So, and these national members of our National Assembly, and not only one, but all. So we should get them out, all of them, hold them accountable, and remind them that we, the people, hold the sovereign authority. Okay. Now, you saw those three ways of how to deal with it. Which one is more practical? The answer is, the answer will rely to what people are willing. Which method is the people willing to participate in? If you take the case of the Babu Owino one, okay? Babu Owino wants to take it to Nakhumicha. Yes, he can take that motion to the National Assembly. Then they'll vote on it and see if she wants, if they don't like Nakhumicha, they'll probably take her out, okay? Now, if we were to take the Justina Wamai's way, okay, can the same use Babu Owino or some other member of parliament bring a motion and say, hey, listen, let's allocate some funds to pay this, get these doctors paid, this 4 billion, so that the treasury can release some money and give it to the doctors. Okay, is that doable? Will that pass? I don't know. because I don't think this government, this Ruto government, because remember, the parliamentarians, majority of the lawmakers, majority of them come from Kenya Kwanza, or at least they're Kenya Kwanza affiliated. And their priority seems to be not the 4 billion that is owed to the doctors. Okay. Now, if we're talking about the Ogolla's Ninio, he rightfully diagnoses the problem, saying that this is a systemic problem and it starts from the head. The fish is rotten from the head downwards, okay, which is Ruto, regime, and the members of parliament, the legislative body. Now, that will be a more difficult way of achieving this. Because, I mean, how do you get Neo? But let's see. He speaks like he's working on something there. So we don't know. Maybe he has a plan. All of them, in my view, are correct to some extent. All of them, it's just the difference is how far do you want to root out the problem. And the deeper you go, the more difficult it is. You need more support. You need more people backing you in that way. Unaelewa? Because removing Nakhumicha through the parliament or to the legislative body, sio ngumu. But the question is, will the members of parliament all vote to get her out? That's one. Okay? Now, to vote for an appropriation bill or to get some money for these doctors, is it hard? Not really. But how convincing are you going to be? Are you good enough to convince your fellow lawmakers to, allocate some money for these doctors to get paid, the 4 billion? Is it easy? Now, taking down the whole system, impeaching Ruto, impeaching these members of parliament, is it possible? Yes. How difficult it is? Very difficult. So it just depends with what's more practical, what's more pragmatic, what's more realistic, what's more doable. But as I said in my last live, we need strong public participation. We cannot be bystanders in these issues. If you want change as wananchi, we have to be part of all these processes. Hatuwezi kusoma gazeti alafu tunakaa kando na tunasema mambo iendelee. It's just not something that we can afford to do anymore. Or else Ruto and this government, this rogue regime, both opposition and the ruling party, will continue with this madness of borrowing and misappropriating funds that belong to the taxpayers. You understand? So we cannot be bystanders in this. So I agree with them in all this. And speaking of that, let's listen to what Natembeya was telling us about, people and how we should, leaders should conduct themselves. But before we go that, let's just go ahead and break down Nakhumicha. Nakhumicha seems to be somebody who we don't really, let's just hear a doctor's view on the issue of this madaktari, because, these doctors are going through a lot. And we need to sort out this issue. Watu hawezi kukufa kwa sababu madaktari hawalipwi. We cannot have that. We have to take care of this. We have to. We do not have any. That's why I'm saying we have to all be involved in this. Let's pressure our politicians, these people that we elected. They have to be pressured to do something. Impeachment is not enough. They have to perform. These members of parliament, these senators, these governors, these MCAs, this president, they have to perform. Hatuwezi kuwawacha hivyo. No way. So here's a doctor talking about the issue.
Unemployed. We have 3,000 doctors. Healthcare is a basic human right. It is not a privilege. We have thousands of healthcare workers who are unemployed. We have 3,000 doctors unemployed in this country. One doctor for every 17,000 patients against the WHO recommendation of one doctor for every 1,000 patients. Have to demand better as doctors in this country. We cannot have the Minister of Health publicly declaring that she has 3,000 doctors who are unemployed and she is doing nothing about it. Let us give our patients the best. Let's demand for quality healthcare for our Kenyan patients. We are no longer going to wait for change. We are going to create the change as doctors in this country. We demand for proper and accountable leadership at the Ministry of Health. Healthcare is a basic human right. It is not a privilege. We have thousands of healthcare workers who are unemployed. We have 3,000 doctors unemployed in this country. One doctor for every 17,000 patients against the WHO recommendation of one doctor for every 1,000 patients. Have to demand better as doctors in this country. We cannot have the Minister of Health publicly declaring that she has 3,000 doctors who are unemployed and she is doing nothing about it. Let us give our patients the best. Let's demand for quality healthcare for our Kenyan patients. We are no longer going to wait for change. We are going to create the change as doctors in this country. We demand for proper and accountable leadership at the Ministry of Health. Healthcare is...
You heard what she said. We can no longer demand for change. We have to be the change. We have to create the change, bring the change as doctors. Now, I'd like to extend that to our local citizens. Remember, we are constitutional democracy. Okay? The power lies with the people, the sovereign people. If we come together as a majority, okay, we make up the sovereign people. We keep on saying we want change in our healthcare, or we want change in our transportation system, we want change in. But if the people that are supposed to represent us have failed us, are not doing anything, are not taking the knee, this lady rightfully puts it. She put it perfectly. I like that. We can no longer demand for change. We have to be the change as doctors. Now, I'm saying we, the people, citizens, you don't have to be a doctor anymore. I'm not saying about this issue, but I'm just saying in general. We, the people, should stop demanding for change. Let's be the change. What does that mean? Since these things are not working, let's get active. Activate you the sovereign power to kunayo. And how can we exercise? We can only exercise this sovereign power if we come together and say, no, this has to be done this way. That's how we can correct things. And this is what that lady says. So let's go back to Nakhumicha and see who this Nakhumicha lady is. Because it seems like, everyone is wondering, for those of you who don't know who Nakhumicha is or what she's up to, what's her business, let's see what she's up to. What's her business? All right. Somebody explains who Nakhumicha is. Susan Wafula Nakhumicha, who is the 101 million woman at the helm of Ministry of Health. Let's get to it. Here it is. Let's get a quick rundown of
also
who
its
she
failure
is.
to adhere to a 2007. Hi, now the Kenyan public health sector is currently in a crisis due to an ongoing doctor strike that has gone on for at least 2 weeks. Doctors have downed their tools since March 14 in protest of the government's refusal to post interns across the country and also its failure to adhere to a 2017 collective bargaining agreement, also known as a CBA. Now, KMPD, which is the doctors' union, has been having talks for the last 3 weeks with the Ministry of Health, but they've borne no fruit. The doctors accuse the government of intimidation. Now, the center of this all is the Kenyan Health Minister, Susan Nakhumicha, who has even threatened to send striking doctors home and employ new ones.
This is a place of rational thinking.
This is despite the fact that the health ministry has given lack of funding by the treasury as their main reason for failure to deploy medical interns across the country, and also why they've not adhered to the 2017 CBA. So one might ask, who is this Kenyan health minister? Now, the name Susan Wafula Nakhumicha
hold on, my lady.
threatened to send striking doctors home and employ new ones.
This is a place of rational thinking.
This is despite the fact that the health ministry has given lack of funding by the treasury as their main reason for failure to deploy medical interns across the country, and also why they've not adhered to the 2017 CBA. So one might ask, who is this Kenyan health minister? Now, the name Susan Wafula Nakhumicha was unknown to the majority of Kenyans before President William Ruto put it forward among nominees to his cabinet in October 2022. Before most people knew her, Nakhumicha was a procurement and logistics practitioner. Born in 1979 in Kericho, Nakhumicha attended Mary Hill Girls High School before heading to the Kenya Medical Training College, KMTC, where she graduated with a pharmacy diploma in 2000. During her vetting in Parliament in 2022, Nakhumicha said after graduating, she began working for a pharmaceutical company here in Kenya when she also enrolled for an online degree at a Turkish university. However, after the online degree, Nakhumicha claimed she was not registered in Kenya because of the legislation governing the duration of pharmacy training here in Kenya. Nakhumicha then enrolled for a procurement and logistics degree at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and thereafter a master's degree in the same field at the same university. She has previously worked with the Kenya Medical Supplies Agency, KEMSA, AAR Healthcare, Nairobi Women's Hospital, Mission for Essential Drugs and Supplies, also known as MEDS, and the Institute of Global Health Sciences of the University of California in San Francisco. In 2016, Nakhumicha quit her job at MEDS for a stab in politics. She was eyeing the Trans Nzoia woman representative seat, but she was eliminated at the party nominations level. She then returned to the office in 2017 at the University of California, San Francisco's Global Programs for Research and Training, where she was the head of the supply chain. In the 2022 general election, Nakhumicha took leave to try her luck at the Trans Nzoia woman representative seat again, but while this time she got a nomination through her party Ford Kenya, she was not lucky to win the seat. She went back to continue her job at Global Programs for Research and Training, where she was until she was nominated as Health Cabinet Secretary. Nakhumicha has previously placed her net worth at around 101 million Kenyan shillings. She revealed this during her vetting in Parliament in October 2022, although the figure has certainly gone up since she assumed office later that month. Nakhumicha said she has parcels of land across the country and rental apartments. Her property at the time comprised a townhouse and rental apartments in Syokimau, as well as in Kangundo, Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, and Kakamega. She also said she has shares in Maumini, the UN Women's Circle, and the Cooperative Bank of Kenya.
Okay.
Hi, now the Kenyan
there's a quick synopsis of Nakhumicha's CV, her history, where she's worked, her background, her education background, and all that stuff. Now, the question is, why is the government not releasing this money to give the doctors to get paid? Apparently, there was a deal that was made with them back in 2017 or something like that, which the government has reneged on. But to me, again, the buck does not stop with Nakhumicha. It stopped with Ruto. Okay, you are the head of government. You appointed Nakhumicha. Okay, her ministry is in crisis. The doctors are on the streets instead of in the hospitals helping the sick. Okay, something has to be done, and something has to be done fast. Go ask the treasury to release the money. It has to be approved with the parliament or whatever the case is. Let it be approved. The 4 billion shillings that these doctors are owed in salary arrears, or whatever the case is, release it. Wacha hawa madaktari warudi kazini. This, pay them, then you can have a seat with their Ninio organization. I think it's KMPDU or something. While they're working, you can negotiate for a deal on how you're going to, in the future, work out payments and kupata hao interns, how much they're going to be paid, and and when are they going to pay, and if there's going to be salary increase and more training or whatever the case is. But the whole point is you cannot stall the treatment of patients. already you just had that doctor talking about, you know, there's 3,000 doctors that are unemployed or whatever the case is. You know, you had Wakina Ledama telling us that there's one oncologist in the whole coastal region. So how can he provide enough enough see his patients, enough patients, you know, his or her patients? It's a crisis. And the interns are those who want to become doctors. You're not even paying them. So where's the incentive for people to become doctors? You have to have incentivize our young folks for people to see that becoming a doctor is actually something. Babu, you know, made a good point saying that why is a minister getting more money than a doctor? People who spent a lot of time in school, you know, we should pay our doctors handsomely to provide good care treatment to our patients. So we shouldn't have our doctors in the streets protesting, mandamanaring. Even I saw some of them were even shot and brutalized. They should be taking care of our patients. Now, who's taking care of the patients? These clinics that are closed, where will our sick go? You see what I'm saying? So, Mr. President, this falls squarely on you. Yes, Nakhumicha is part of it, but the buck stops with William Samoei Arap Ruto. No way, if or buts about it. You are responsible for this. Okay? Now, as we go on, lastly, speaking of Nakhumicha and people like that and who the buck stops with, we have our friend. I won't play his interview. He had an interview today. His name is none other than Natembeya. Natembeya is making rounds, making a name for himself, making the point that, listen, the time for politicians or people who call themselves leaders meeting with the president, you know, without the backing of the people behind them is over. You have to be backed by the people in order to be considered a president. This is something that is an important point. You have to be backed with the people. You cannot just go up there and meet the president and say, hey, listen, I brought you up a bunch of a voting bloc. I'm the leader of this tribe, so let's make a deal. This is the point that Nakhumicha was making in this video. Let me go ahead and play it so you can hear him out.
Msidanganywe na mtu. I'm telling the truth, even the president knows. Kwamba today akiamuka vibaya zabe mtu akwende kabisa. Ilko. And nothing will happen. Hii dunia itasimama, itaendelea tu. That is the reality. Pelekwa kwa meza na watu yako, usijipeleke huko vile unapelekwa. Au unasema mimi nileta leo watu 200,000 wa Excellency, kama singeleta hawa Raila angeshinda wewe. Sasa wewe unakuwa rewarded kwa kupeleka wabukuzu 200 kwa kikapu ya president. Alafu unakuja kutuambia now we are in government. Which government? Nonsense. Which government? Which government? Ukipelekwa na watu, you can say you are in government, si ndio? Mtu kama Kashagwa saa hii alienda na shares. Janaambianga watu tuko na shares. Yeye anaweza kuzwa na mtu kweli? Hawezi. Hata President Ruto wakati alikuwa deputy president, alizumbuana na Uhuru sana. Senyewe mnajua? Akaambiwa na tanga unafanya nini? Alifutwa hapo. Hapo na watu yake. Na hawa wetu, huyo wetu vile hapo kule mbele, hapo na nani hapa nyuma? It's just alone. Sasa akisikia kuna kiongozi mwingine kutoka kwa jamii anataka kuongea hivi, Sasa hakuna mtu anataka kutafutia mambo mengine. Let me tell you, and this is the reality. You can never be the president of this republic kama una watu yako ambao wanakushikilia. Hawezi. My friend, hiyo ni uongo yako kabisa. Lazima uwe na watu wanakushikilia kwanza, then you can go ahead. Sasa nyinyi waje tuseme watu waseme mimi ni ukabila tu, but I'm not a tribalist. Waluya, you are number 2 in Kenya. Saa hizi jamii wa Kikuyu wamejipanga, wamekuwa president mara 2. They are planning for 2032. Jamii wa Kale wamekuwa mara 2, si ndio? Sasa tumesimama na Waluo, imekuwa tu matatizo kidogo, inakuja inaenda hivi. Si ndio? Sasa wakati Raila anasema anaenda African Union Commission, si ndio? Watu wanaanza kuangalia Kalonzo kwa.
All right. That's an interesting, he echoes something that also Professor Ogolla said, that regarding to, being backed by the people should back you up. Usikwe mtu ati wewe ndio, you're just going up there to make deals unajiita sijui nini. You have to bring something to the table. And I want to play that video of Ogolla. I didn't even know that Ogolla actually vied under ODM ticket. I didn't get it. Here is a video of his before I actually give my view on the issue.
And civic awareness is very important, yes, in terms of economic and governance awareness, raising the right questions, knowing how to involvement. Because there's been a lot of complacency, especially from the general public in Kenya, and there's a lot of lethargy when it comes to involvement in political parties or political matters or even political engagements. And civic awareness is very important, yes, in terms of economic and governance awareness, raising the right questions, knowing how to go about it. Now, the only way or the best way to do this is through participation in political parties and political party activities. Failure to do that during this time, as we say, the elections will happen either way, the way politicians want them to happen. If Kenyans fail to be part of this process, they will be failing themselves, don't you think?
Yeah, you see, the greatest paradox is that someone cannot run a political party but wants to run government. For me, is the greatest paradox. ODM has not done the election for the last 10 years. Yet
the last elections failed.
Yes, yet they are shouting on democracy against the president. UDA was not able to hold a good nomination, neither ODM. For example, the larger CI where I come from, it was shambolic. I was a leading candidate in Uganda. And then I saw people meet in an hotel and gave a ticket.
On UDA?
Of ODM.
Oh, okay.
That Oburu Dinga or Pia Wandai, James Orengo meet candidates they choose who are not popular and give them a ticket, and ODM lost Ugenya. I was in Ugenya last on Sunday. They still cry why I didn't get the ticket for ODM. So if you cannot run a political party, can you run government? In fact, for me, even I'm asking this question, I want to extend this question even broader. Someone cannot run KICC that they want to privatize it. Can they run government? If you cannot run the small things, even Jesus says, if you can't be trusted the small things, you can't be trusted a bigger thing. So that is the question I'm asking. And now, if we cannot open up the window, in fact, our slogan in our campaign is called Hewa Mpya, fresh air. Open up fresh air so that politics can breathe, not in ODM, in politics, because we are coming as our own political party.
Through a political party?
Yes, a political party.
An existing one or one that you hope to?
I don't want to disclose because you know these guys.
Not us, Prof.
No, when I speak here, so if I even mention how that party looks like, where it is, you know what will happen.
So it's not an existing political party as we speak?
He doesn't want to say more. I don't want to say more because, NIS, remember, you don't have membership on your.
They are very near them.
Investigated you know these things. I'll wake up tomorrow, that party will be having problems until the end of the day. It's a very good party where we are open up fresh window to tell a young person, you will find a home here. We will tell women. Like now, look at this front picture where Raila is. You see a woman in the periphery, peripheral role.
Amebeba
bag yake hapo. The men are there. Then the men have decided there's no youth here. Tell me a youthful face here.
Junet.
They are talking about youth. Junet has part 35. Let's not shit ourselves. Elachi said 35 and below, isn't it? Junet is, if not 50, above 50, or just about to reach 50, fifth floor, going upwards. When you reach fifth floor, you cannot come with anything new. These guys were born before internet. They were born before internet. We are talking about digital disruption. We are talking about technology.
That's my question, because the involvement of women, youth, and marginalized other
but even that
should be happening right now during the grassroots
but
election.
You see, Fred, I'm not even talking about the diversity based on demographics, but the diversity in thinking, competence in thinking. That's why ODM and the entire Azimio could not come up with professionals that could analyze for them the Finance Act to help them put them to task. Okay. It's not just competence in terms of there's a woman. Fred, you can have women in the board, but are you ready to listen to a woman?
Okay, let's
you can have a youth in the board, but can you listen to youth?
Let's focus on the demographics for a while.
According to me, what I'm trying to say is that we need new parties emerge that are founded on the basis of professionalism, basis of democracy, not just calling them. ANC has nothing like democracy.
Yet we cannot ignore the two biggest parliamentary parties that exist currently, because
but they are going to die.
No, Fred,
let me finish this point. Why even succession is a challenge in ODM is that what does ODM stand for? That you pass over. Succession does not mean that you replace people.
Okay.
Succession means ideological. What is it that ODM is passing over to new generation?
Okay.
If you ask young people outside there, do they want to run ODM there where there is no nomination, there is no election, there is bribery to get tickets?
This is not the first time we're raising the question of involvement of women in political parties. And I remember it was covered very well when you went to State House.
Profesa hapo ameanza kuchapa watu 10-0 hapo kwa studio bwana. Kioni had his head down because he knew the deal. But he makes a really good point saying that, this political, I told you guys, political parties, again, I disagree with him in the sense that the problem is that we don't need any other political parties. I'm just tired of political parties, because I said the number one thing is that the government, the taxpayers, should not be paying these political parties. That law should be abandoned, should be abolished immediately, because it becomes a racket. The money that they get, you saw he nicely described how the nomination is done. He might be the favorite candidate, then Wandai, Raila Odinga's brother, and Orengo meets in a hotel and they give the person that they want to give the nomination. Okay, well, the popular candidate misses it. All right, so you see those kind of mchezo about happens. These parties are not democratized. Now, if this party raise their own money as a party through their members, okay, then they can conduct their business the way they want. Okay, we shouldn't have a say on how they conduct their business. But I do agree with him that we do need divergent ways, new ways of thinking. And the highlight of what he was saying was when he mentioned that Azimio did not have. It's so funny because Kioni was sitting right next to him, so he's part of the dumb people that were part of this. Well, Kioni is not even a voted member of parliament. But anyway, basically was saying there was nobody smart enough during the finance bill when it was being passed. No one was smart enough to go through, read that finance bill, and challenge it. Okay? It took somebody like Okiya Omtata, who's not a member of ODM or Kenya Kwanza, to challenge that in court on the basis of it being not constitutional. So it's the same thing. He kind of echoes what Natembeya was saying. Enough of this politics of people just making deals. It is time for people who are voted in, people who are supported in the ground, who look after the interest of the wananchi, who propels them as their representative. That's what we need. And also, again, like the doctor said, I like what that doctor said, it is time for us to be the change we want. We can no longer rely on these so-called MPs, senators, MCAs, governors, and even the president to bring the change we want. We have to demand it. That's why I said our role as citizens does not end after voting, casting that vote at the polling station. Polling station here is just part of it. But kazi inaanza even after we choose our leaders or those representatives. Remember, by choosing them, we are donating our sovereign power to them, but we can also get it back. Kitu umedonate tunaweza ukaichukua back. So after we choose them, the constitution and the rule of law are the safeguards we have to protect us against anybody who might be going rogue. So the president can only be rogue because we are not demanding the safeguards that were put in place through our constitution and laws that are supposed to make sure that Ruto asitoke on the right path. Hatufuatilii. We are not implementing that. Nobody cares. So he's doing whatever he wants because we are not demanding that he does that. You see, that's why the doctors are on the streets. They understand. Wanasema pesa mpaka ilipwe. In order for us to do our jobs, we cannot go on like this. You reneged on the on the deal that we made. You're not paying us. For how long? And the interns are not getting paid enough money. So they have to demand that. That's why ndio wanamaandamana huko. But we should shun people like Kalonzo Musyoka who want to dandia this legit struggle. And Kalonzo want to dandia hiyo nini ya madaktari ndio so that they can advance the NADCO thing. That's why I was saying Kalonzo Musyoka and Wamalwa should be stoned if they ever try to go to Mandamano for the NADCO. We should only go to Mandamano for legit reasons like the doctors did. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies or comrades, my name is Kenya Revolution. Just go ahead and like this video. If you're watching this in X, go to YouTube. My name is Kenya Revolution. You can see that. You can type that there. Like this video, subscribe, wake a notification up. So every time I come in, you can always dandia and you like the video, subscribe. So every time I come in, you can see. And kuna hiyo nini ya stream ya dapo ukitaka kuingia kwa studio unaweza kuingia if you have something to say about what I'm telling you, what I'm talking about, you can always do that, okay? Anyway, thank you so much for everybody that's watching on X and everyone who's watching on YouTube. It's been a pleasure. I will let it go right now. I might come in later, or if I don't come in later, maybe I might be here tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Kenya Revolutionary. You know the order of business: like, share, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. It's free. You won't be charged. Thank you very much. Peace and blessings.